Okay, there we go. Leslie, super excited that you're here again with us. This is so exciting.
Glad to be here.
Love having you here. Leslie, I was just thinking about something. I don't know if you remember that. You probably don't remember this, but well, in fact, I'm positive you probably don't remember it, but I remember the very first time I was literally introduced to these little bottles was at your house.
Was it?
Yes.
Really?
And I didn't really know what they were, I just thought they were, these cute little brown bottles. And you had like I have my, different boxes of oils at my desk. But you had the classic little box. I wish I had one right here, but the
Yep.
classic little doTERRA box that
Mhm.
opens up. And I remember, yeah, it was all full of your oils. And it was on your dining room. It was on, no, it was in, yeah, it was in your, right when you walk in the door, it was like in that, living room kind of
Yep.
area
Yep.
on a little table. And I can't remember what you were saying about them. I don't remember, but I remember you opening the box and showing me something. And I was like, oh, those are fun. But fun. I had no idea the miracles that they would create in my life, you know?
I can tell you, I probably know what I was telling you at that time. I'm
What?
thinking
Tell
about
me.
how old my kids were. I had one daughter who would not let me put them on her at all, but she was
Okay.
congested. She was like, couldn't sleep at night. And so I would go wipe breathe on the wall next to her, and she wouldn't even know, and it would help her breathe all night long. So
You're kidding me.
I'm pretty sure that's probably what I had just
Oh,
discovered and was excited to tell you because sneaky Mufasa over here.
you're I call that ninja mom.
Exactly.
Ninja mom. Yeah. I love that. I love it because when my little grandkids come over, first of all, Leslie, I'm not sure the context of the people coming on this call. They are all in my doTERRA organization.
Awesome.
So that's one of the ways that they've earned being on this call with you. And so I thought that would be a fun little story to start out with. But I was gonna say, right when my grandbabies were like brand new and they would come to my house, I made sure I introduced oils to them right off the bat. And so now, oh my goodness, my little grandkids, they come over and I get out the little kid satchel, that cute little what cream
Yep.
one with the little blue zipper. I get that out and they immediately sit down on the rear ends and they take their socks off and we rub the oils on their feet. And it is just a fantastic experience because when we don't do that, whoo, it's a wild experience at our house. And if I put Calmer on, it really makes a difference. And my little granddaughter, when I go to her house, she lives in Idaho, and when I go to her house, I have to have a bag for her that she can play with. And then
Yeah.
I have to have my other oils because like I might have oregano and she goes and puts oregano everywhere. And
Oh,
we don't want oregano everywhere. But I have to like put, all the oils that would be gentle and okay for her little brothers, because if not, the whole house gets oiled up,
yeah.
including the dolls and everyone. So I have to make sure she's got her own little bag and I've got my
Yeah.
little bag. Yeah.
You do
And
have to be careful. My one of my sons, he had ginger one
okay.
up on his bunk bed because he was not feeling so great. He was a little
Yeah.
nauseous, and it spilled. And
Yes.
so he had saturated ginger oil all over his bed. And to this day, he cannot tolerate the odor anymore.
He's
Just
like
never
done
done
with
that.
ginger.
Yep.
Yeah. I, I have made
That's
it a
funny.
practice for my little grandkids that the only oils I let them play with are the ones that are
Roller.
the touch ones
Yep.
because they're not as easy to spill. They're much easier for them to manage. So that's
Yeah.
one of my
That's
little
good.
rules for myself. However, some of those touch oils do have a little bit looser of the metal ball at the
Hmm.
top. Oh, a fun little tip for everyone. Here's a little tip. I don't know if you know this, but you know the little right now doTERRA. And Leslie, I don't know if you know this either, but right now, every month, and I wasn't going to share this, but I thought I would because this is an awesome little thing. Right now, for the well, they did it last year. I'm not sure if they're going to be doing it this year, but every month that you did your 100 PV, you would get a 5 ml of the bottles. And
Hmm.
so I have my whole entire little, this is my travel bag with the 5 ml of the bottles. But the reason why I'm mentioning right now is you can actually purchase this little topper right here where you take the other topper off and stick that topper on. So it's you've got your 5 mils only there, the roller bottle. So okay,
Oh, that's awesome.
enough. Yeah, enough about that. We got to get into our what we're here for. And I am so excited, Leslie. This is such a pleasure. I've got great people here with us. This replay will go out to a whole bunch of people that are at work and school and all kinds of places that are not able to be here live today. But I am just so happy that you are here. This is so fun. It's such a pleasure. Leslie has been a friend of Kirk and I for many years. She's one of those type of friends where I call them no maintenance friends, which I love, and they require no maintenance. It's just like, hey, Leslie, what you doing?
It's
Oh,
been
I'm
10 years and we just put them right there. Yeah.
and it doesn't, you don't require anything of me, but when we connect, it's like this beautiful, amazing connection. We talk about, what's happened in the last whatever time period, and it's like just yesterday. So,
Totally.
Leslie, it is just such an honor and a pleasure to have you here for this a moment in your life with us. Leslie does have to leave at 1. She's got another call, so we will let her like exit so I need to stop talking.
You
So
need to stop talking.
I know. Yeah, I need to stop talking.
Stop talking.
I know. But
I have questions for
okay,
Leslie.
please
I'm
go ahead.
ready.
Done.
I did
Question
my own.
Kirk.
I was doing
Okay.
my homework last night
Okay.
till midnight.
He
I I
was. He was.
I had to What you finish. got, Kirk? I just had to finish the Jackrabbit Factor again. I still had an hour and a half to go, so I started it at like close to 10, and I'm like, I'm finishing before I go to bed. So then I had Jackrabbit Factor dreams all night long. I
And you
was
jumped
like,
out of bed, right?
and I jumped out of bed. That's right. That's right. So for those who are here for the first time and missed last time or missed the recording, we have a cool experience. Leslie Householder is with us. She's the author of The Jackrabbit Factor and all kinds of amazing programs and other books. But those who have been with us for the last couple months, we've been reviewing different books, and I put this book on the table and said, we're going to talk about this because
Kirk.
I've been wanting to share books that have changed my life, not just influenced, but altered my direction. Go ahead, Kim. You're muted. No, no. Okay. Okay, so Kim and I know Leslie. Kim's like, I'm going to call Leslie. And so last time we had her on here and we were able to ask some questions and talk about things. And then there was more I was going to share. And Kim's like, I'm calling Leslie again. And so she's here again. And so what I did is I finished the book again just this last night. And I have some questions I want to ask Leslie about some really significant parts of the book. And so, but for those of you who don't have this, you can go to, oh, I have it right here. To listen to the book, you can go to Rare Faith, go to the YouTube channel Rare Faith. Make sure you subscribe so you can also watch and listen to Leslie's other podcasts and the other trainings that she does there on her YouTube channel. So go to Rare Faith on YouTube and subscribe. That way you can
Which
get.
I will, they will get all of that in their email, so you don't frantically be looking. Leslie, I have to tell you, ever since I heard you say the word rare faith, that has struck a chord in my heart. And I cry every time I think about rare faith now.
Mm,
Thank you.
So, Kirk, I want to know what your questions are.
Yeah. So a couple of things popped out to me. Now, last time you brought up in Portal to Genius, the book that's after this book.
I think that's my next one to dive into because I asked ChatGPT to give me a short cheat sheet on Portal to Genius, and it struck my curiosity. I'm like, okay, I can't go off a cheat sheet. I gotta go read the whole thing. But questions about this book that stood out to me again. But now that I have you here with me, I get to ask. Uh, in when I read books, I love to highlight, and underline things, and I like to like draw arrows and mark things up. But the first time I read it, the second time I read it, the third time I read it, and now this fourth time reading it, um, there's a spot that talks about gestation. Some
Mhm.
people think that's a weird word, but I would like to, if you could elaborate, because in the book, Richard says, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he says, I got to learn this gestation thing." So he in the book he doesn't really settle on it in this book in this area, but some people have heard the word of gestation, not just having babies or anything else that's, created, but what is it? Why would those who are here, like, why should they, or why would they pay attention to that? I know it's kind of like out of left field to bring up the word gestation, but could you give us some insight on that from your point of view?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, the term does apply to pregnancy and how long things take to go from germination to full form. Uh, every everything in nature that starts from a seed has a finite period of time called the gestation when it goes from being just a seed to what it was meant to become. And we are the same way. We started as little cells and now we are growing and becoming something. But even our ideas are seeds. And every idea or every change that you want to make in your life is a concept or an idea seed that has a finite gestation period to it. And that is one little concept that has made a world of difference to me, because I know that, and assuming that you've all got at least the basic idea of what the Jackrabbit factor is, or will soon if you haven't started reading it. If you have a picture on the screen of your mind of something that you want to realize or experience or change, and you can see it done in your mind's eye, and if you can let yourself feel it for just a moment on what would that feel like, those two things put together, the visual image and the feeling, come together and plant the seed and starts the whole gestation process. It activates it. And so knowing you've had that moment, you can know, and we don't have a chart somewhere that says how long each gestation period is for each kind of idea, but we can know that, oh, I just did the thing. I have planted the seed. And as long as I don't pull it out of the ground, it is inevitably going to become that thing, which is a whole new concept. If you think about it, you want to create a life to look a certain way, or you want your relationships to feel a certain way, or your health, or whatever it might be, whatever your financial goals. If you can see it done and let yourself feel it even for just a moment, then the follow-up thought to that is whatever the gestation period is for this is finite. And as long as I keep moving my feet, and as long as I keep doing the next right step for where I'm inspired to go and do, which is what the Jackrabbit factor is, you spot the rabbit and then you follow it. You become instinctively smart about what to do to see that happen. Then you don't have to wonder, I wonder if it will. You know that it will. And it's just a matter of time. And I don't know if this is kind of touching on what your question was, Kirk, or if you have any follow up so I can steer it in the right direction. But what are your thoughts so far?
That you're going the right way. Yep. To be able to go that way, because I hear people who will say, well, I want this, but I just don't see anything changing. I don't see anything happening.
And that I tend to hear that when they hear that, they don't know about the gestation period. They don't know that there is stages of development. And so when that crossed the page, when my eyes crossed that last night of seeing that, I was like, oh, I want to hear Leslie talk about this, of why this is so important to consider that when we have our ideas, like you said, don't pull it out. Once to plant the seed, don't pull it out. But that this gestation thing's real. It's not just made up.
No, and it's operating by universal laws that are governing everything. I mean, that's the thing is we we don't see visibly all of the laws that are governing everything. You don't look out the window and see the law of physics in numbers and, like the memes show, like calculations floating through the sky, but they're there. And this is kind of where rare faith comes in. You have to believe that things are happening that you can't see. If I plant a seed in a pot of soil, what am I doing by picking it up to check on it? Every
Right?
time I pull it out to check on it, I'm killing it. And that is why to plant the idea seed and leave it be and choose to believe that stuff is happening that you can't see is how it grows. That facilitates its growth. And
Nice.
and what's funny is the first time I actually did this consciously, and I can't remember if I mentioned this in our last call, but I had been to these events for 7 years, people telling me how to do this process and believe, think big, dream big, and rah rah. It was all very exciting, but but nothing's happening. I can't see anything. Finally, I was so frustrated. I went to bed and I'm like, all right, fine. I'm just going to do what they said. I'm going to check out and I'm going to pretend like I have the life I want. And I thought I was doing something wrong. And I put on the screen of my mind, what would it feel like to be in a home of my own? And I just tried to live it there for a minute. And it was hard to create. And then I felt the moment and we're like, oh man, that would feel so good. And then I went back to life and I didn't know I had done anything. A year later, we were living that experience, what I had envisioned. And it wasn't for 2 more years when I'm listening to Bob Proctor, where he describes this process and he explains it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I did. I did that. And it worked because I wasn't asking if it worked. I wasn't doing it and then saying, oh, I wonder if it worked. Maybe it didn't work. I wonder if it did. How do I know? I don't see anything happening. We literally kill it by overthinking it.
Mm.
It worked because I wasn't wondering if it was working. You have to do it and then choose to believe that it happened and that it's working. And now, instead of looking for proof that you did something and made a difference, you're looking for evidence that it's growing. It's like a curiosity. It's like an excitement. It's anticipation instead of, prove me wrong. We'll see. It's such a subtle difference. But now, if, for example, it's such a simple example, but I used it so many times during the hard years, is I would see like, oh my gosh, we have a bill coming due on Friday. We don't have the money. I don't know where it's going to come from. I have no idea how this is going to work out. So I would imagine Saturday. And I would say, all right, what are we doing now that that's solved? And what's the conversation I'm having with my husband? And so I'll say, okay, well, on Saturday, we're out in the garden and we're just talking to them. Man, can you believe how that worked out? It was so crazy how everything worked out on Friday. We got the thing paid. We had no idea how that was going to happen. And it happened. And I can visualize what that conversation looks like without knowing how it's going to happen. Doesn't matter. What I'm imagining is what it looks like on the other side of it happening and getting myself in that frame of mind. And then just trusting that, okay, I did the thing. And now between Tuesday and Friday, I'm curious. Like every little thing, I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's part of the solution. Oh, I wonder if this phone call is part of the solution. Oh man, we just had a car accident. I wonder if this is going to somehow help us with the solution. Everything is framed to what my expectation is, even the bad stuff. Something bad happens, I don't look at it like, oh crap, now, see, I knew it wouldn't work. I'm like, oh, I wonder how this is going to lead to the solution, because now everything is part of the solution in my mind. And so it's it changes things. It absolutely changes things, you know. And how many times I've seen a disaster turn into the solution because it meant I had to talk to a certain cop who knew a certain somebody who had an answer to this. And it leads to stuff. And so you got to look at everything like it's part of the solution.
During that time of learning how to trust it and not abandon it or become critical of it, what was that was that hard for you? Was it easy for you? Did you have to like consciously go, okay, hold on, I got to
Is it still
trust?
hard for me?
Yeah. It's so
It doesn't mean it's easy. It's just
yeah.
I rest on the promises that this is all founded on
Oh,
law.
I like that. Okay, I hope everybody just heard that. That's where your trust comes from is you've learned enough to know this is a law. It's not woo-woo. It's not, it kind of works for some people if you live on this side of the tracks.
Right.
It works for everybody who participates in this. You're calling it a law.
It is. It is. And you find out that in hindsight, and if you inspect and you trace your thoughts back and everything, you can see where it was almost working and then you fell apart and then it fell apart. And I don't like to believe that I'm the reason that things fall apart. But if I'm honest with myself, I can recognize that, yeah, I blow it. I blow it a lot. But here's the thing, we don't have to live it perfectly for it to work. And this was so important for me to understand because we are going to have those moments where we're freaking out. And here's the key. You have a moment of freak out, like, I don't see how it's going to work and I'm falling apart. And then you catch yourself and you're like, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to do that, or I'm breaking the law and it's going to fall apart because I'm losing my crap over it. Right. In that moment that I catch myself, I'll say, ooh, okay, no, that's not what I choose. I choose to believe. I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling doubt. I don't have any idea how this is going to work. Help thou mine unbelief. There's a provision for that. And I can say, okay, even though I just freaked out, I choose to believe it's still growing. I choose to believe it's still
Mm,
coming because what matters more is not how well you hold yourself together through the gestation period, but what you think about yourself and what you did when you fail. That's the clincher. That's the
wow,
clincher. And
that's like
so,
a testing time right there is like how are you going to react to this?
what's the story you're going to tell yourself about this? Oh, shoot, I just killed it. Oh, well, that just killed it. Not, oh, shoot, I fell off the tracks for a minute there. I choose to believe it's still working because I know God is merciful. And part of the law that covers this whole thing is a law of mercy too. But it does require us to do our best and catch ourselves and course correct when we fail, because if I fall off and I start getting doubtful and everything, I am not listening to the inspiration that's going to help me do the next right step. I've got to reconnect with that inspiration to know what my next right step is. Otherwise, the default in a dark place is going to be something that takes me off course and
So
thwarts the progress.
you're putting on the table that we can actually catch ourselves and get back. So it's not we make a mistake and it's all gone. We can course correct.
Absolutely. But what
Okay.
matters most is the story we tell ourselves when we catch ourselves. It's
Mm,
either, oh, shoot, I blew it. I guess it won't work. And that's what kills it. Or, oh, shoot, I blew it. And I learned something from that. And I choose to believe it's still coming. And there's a provision for me to make mistakes because we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be perfect at this. I mean, if we had to be perfect, nobody would. And this is why I know there's provision for this, because how many people do you know out there who actually do the process perfectly and yet goals are achieved, people are
yeah.
succeeding? There's enough evidence out there that people are doing this imperfectly for me to believe that the crux is that moment where we fail and we say, oh, I guess it won't work. Well, we've just pulled it out and killed it, instead of, oh, lesson learned, I'm going to try harder, I'm going to do better, and I choose to believe that it's on its way even faster now, or whatever we want to say about it, because that's
So
what
to
matters.
so to catch the story of what we're telling ourselves because we're probably just missing it. We're not even paying attention to the fact of how we're judging, criticizing ourselves when we fall off the track or we do something dumb and we think like it's all gone. There's this story that's already there, but to look for that and we get to catch the story and like you're saying to rephrase that story. Like that's a critical point of correction to get things keep things moving in the right direction.
Yep. Yeah, one
Wow.
of my favorite quotes, and let me see if I can find it. Let's see. When God put a calling on your life, he already factored in your stupidity. The most comforting thing I've ever heard. And so I remember that, if I am on my way to seeing through a dream that I feel like he's planted in my heart, I think a lot of times these dreams are planted in us so that we will change, so that we will grow more than it is about getting that thing. We have to have a reason to
Oh,
stretch
that's good.
and grow, and that's what these things do. But I remember that if like I feel inadequate, if I feel like I'm bad at this, if I feel like I'm not strong enough, I don't have a mental discipline enough, whatever it is, then I just remember, you know what, when God planted that desire in my heart, he factored in my stupidity. And that is very comforting to me. So if he believes that it can work anyway, then that's what I choose to believe too.
That's great. That is great. More about how I will grow more than the thing I'm wanting to accomplish. Yeah, I tried to write as fast as I could what you were saying. Did I get close?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that what matters more is like who we are to become in the process. I heard somebody say once, everybody should try to become a millionaire at least once in their life, not for the money, but because of what it forces you to become, the growth that it requires of a person to get over their limiting beliefs, to get over like it's the personal growth and the character development that is the real fruit of our pursuits.
Wow, that's great. That's great. That'd be a fun life class to take. Lots of self-reflection on that one. Lots of things to fix.
Yeah.
Okay, you got a couple minutes left, right? Like three? Or you got
Yeah.
to go now or in
Well,
three?
I got to go in three, but I'm also pulling up the link that I can just jump to as soon as I get to it.
Okay, another quick question that goes along with this. There's a spot in the book where Richard has a difficulty where he's trying to use visualization. He's trying to figure something out, and he's kind of getting busted here by Randy. And Randy is catching him on the fact that Richard was trying to like believe or expect that other people need to do things for him. I know I'm completely paraphrasing these two images here, but he comes out saying, um, the fact of the matter in the second image over here, the fact of the matter is that using your minds to try to force things or people to do stuff is a violation of basic universal law. I tend to hear people do that to like spouses. Like
Yeah.
they want to visualize and they're like, why is my spouse not doing this? Or my partner, or my boyfriend, girlfriend, or my boss. They want their boss to give them a raise and their boss has to give them a raise. It, can you speak to that, the violation of this basic universal law?
Yeah. It's an agency thing. We shouldn't visualize people doing something for us, or doing things that they should be doing, like picturing my kids doing the right things. Of course, I want them to do the right things, but am I going to use my mental energy to make that happen? That would be a violation. What we can do with loved ones is to see and envision the relationship or the situation as it would be ideally, in order to change us and the way we show up in that relationship, and not to change them. It's creating the space for the possibility of it, but without the intent to make them do anything. And one thing that can make a big difference is it's okay to hold a vision for something being ideal, but let go of your attachment to the timing of it.
So not just people and things, but timing, not to
Yeah,
force timing.
right.
Okay.
Right. Because if we force something outside of what is lawful, or because we don't know what the gestation is on something, and if we are trying to manipulate a situation that involves other people, then that brings cross currents to the energy that is counter to the way it was designed. And it can sabotage what we're trying to do. And so one thing that you can do is see the thing done if it's objective, and be unattached to who does it.
Mm, great.
Or if you see a person and you want their life to be better because you care about them, see them in that life, so that when you interact with them, you are relating to the best possible version of who they are, instead of showing up critical of what they're being now.
That's beautiful.
It's to change you more than it is to change them.
That profound. Very beautiful. Okay, I know you got to run. Thank you so much for being here. Ah, love listening to you talk. I just
We'll
love
do
it.
it again. We'll do it again.
Okay, beautiful. Thank
All
you so
right. See
much.
ya.
Thank you. Well, that's a treat. That is a
Oh, it's
super, super
precious.
awesome treat. Yes.
Love her.
Yes.
Such a sweetheart.
Yeah. I don't know what other people do, but when I read a book the second time, it's just like it's super like stuff stands out. It's like, what? Like there's spots in the book where I'm like underlining things that I underlined before, but in between those, there's like other parts that are standing out. So if you haven't jumped into the Jackrabbit Factor story yet, the book, um, put it on your list as the next book, or this is maybe time to start reading a book. But to jump in and get your own copy, or you can also just go to her site and listen to it, which I
And
did last night. I followed along in the book, and so I got through an hour and a half of it last night, following along and listening. It was great.
when you do click on the link, it's like 3 hours and 22 minutes. I just did it. And so it's not a long thing, but and it's and this book was written, and we have had this book in our life now, Kirk, for over 20 years. And there are still moments after all these years of having this book in our life, we still reference this book. It's just it has just some basic principles. And I find that in our day and age, Kirk, and I'm sure you would agree with me, with all the new technology and AI and da 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 da, sometimes we go back and or so sometimes we have the tendency to, oh, that's like 20 years old, but it's a classic. And the laws are the laws. What Leslie is talking about that are in the book, they are laws, and laws don't change.
I agree with you. There is probably, probably, I figure 70 to 80% of what I got from this book in this last read that I'm still not doing,
Wow.
that I'm still not doing. So
Wow.
it is the basics, but it's a real big mind shift because it requires some responsibility and accountability to,
Well,
like, one of the big things Richard goes through in the last half of the book is he goes through these encounters where now the first half he's trying to break free of a particular mentality, and the second half he now is being introduced and being around people who have a higher level of mentality than he does. And he struggles hearing them and what they're saying and what they're suggesting. Like it's not sticking in his head. And that struggle of trying to get out of the mentality you're in and into a new mentality, I completely understand that right now because I've been working on going from live events to online events, and that's a different mentality. And so I've been struggling with two different mentalities because in live events, I feel really confident and really smart. online, I feel really dumb and foolish and 1,000 miles behind. So as I'm reading him in the last half of this book, where he's around people that he wants to be like there's some really profound moments in this last third of the book where he's around these people that he just wants to be like, and he asks them questions, and it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Because I experienced that when I ask people about being online and they tell me, and it's like, I try to listen, but it doesn't make sense. And so I think for those of you reading the Jackrabbit Factor or are going to pick it up and start reading it, there's like the first half and the second half, and the second half is very fascinating. It might be kind of hard to read because he's willing to like change his mentality, the way he sees things, the way he interacts with things. And the number one thing he's battling is doubt. The number one thing that keeps coming up for him is he has these moments of doubt. Like there's this guy he meets, his name's Randy, and Randy is teaching him some higher level of thinking. And Randy asks him to do a particular thing. And the first thing you see here is Richard says, I don't think I could do that. And then Randy says to him, then you can't. Is if you think you can't do that, then you can't. Right. And then Randy says to him, pay attention to your thoughts. You have to allow yourself to believe in the impossible. Because Randy's really stretching his thinking at this point in the book. And it's just tripping up Richard going, what? This seems so wild. But it's very legitimate, very like, you can see why it's like, but to watch him struggle, I could relate to his struggle of like, you want me to write a book and sell it online? Like if I was talking to my coach, which recently happened, my coach is like, you should write a book. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if I can do that. And I'm like, oh crap, that's what Richard just said. And so this book really like stirs your faith, and it uncovers the sneaky doubt that's in there. And so I just think it's very, very cool to be able to read this part about how this happens. But I got just like 5 minutes more of a share I want to share. And then I'm going to open it up for questions, either from what Leslie had mentioned, or if there's other questions you have about the book, things that you've read so far. But there's something else that Leslie put in the book that was going to be my next question. And maybe sometime I'll get to ask her this question. But in the book, Richard was being questioned by another character in the book named Andy. And Andy is also very successful. So he meets Andy and Randy, and he meets these people that are very successful in what they're doing. And Andy is questioning him about where he invests his time and his money. So I'm going to read this to you, and then I'm going to explain it to you. So, so starting in the yellow, or right before the yellow, it says, I just want to emphasize the importance of having your own dreams and goals vividly defined before taking action in an investment or business venture. With your dreams securely in place, you'll be steered by a higher power toward the right decision for you. So now I'm going to give you a little bit of an explanation that Andy, at this point in the book, was explaining to Richard, well, questioning him and explaining to him that many times people invest money into books, classes, businesses, expecting the book to fix them, expecting the class to fix them, expecting the business to save them. So they invest the money thinking that that thing is going to save them or fix them. And because Richard's asking Andy, like, oh, I've invested lots of money in stuff before. And Andy goes, well, what did you expect from them? And he says, well, it didn't work. He's like, what do you mean it didn't work? Well, I spent money on that. It didn't fix me. And he goes, that's not how it works. He says, you already need to know what your goal is before you buy the book, read the book, take the class, do the business, have a goal in mind. But look what it says here at the very end, the last sentence. With your dream or goal securely in place, you will be steered by a higher power toward the right decisions for you. So what that means is when you get a book, like you're going to buy a book and read a book. Okay, why did you get that book? Well, I want to be a better dad, a better mom, a better business owner. I want to be more healthy. Okay, great. That's why you're going to read the book. While you're reading the book, you'll get steered by a higher power toward the right decisions for you. So the book opens up inspiration, or the class you decide to sign up for. If you're going there knowing I'm going to take this class, but I'm going to listen for my higher power to guide me in the right decisions. This is what Andy's trying to teach Richard is, yes, read the book. Yes, go to the class. Yes, do the business if that's something you want to do. But if you're expecting the business or the class or the book to save you, you're going to miss what actually was going to happen. And so Andy's saying you want to look for how your higher power, which also could mean a God, how God or a higher power is going to steer you while you're reading the book, while you're taking that class, while you have that coach, while you're doing that business. Listen to the higher power guide you. Because you're in the mode of education, you're in the mode of sacrifice, you're in the mode of pursuing something good, and you've invested and sacrificed. You've paid money, you're sacrificing time. Because you're using sacrifice and investment, if you listen for the higher power, that's where you're going to get your guidance of life-changing choices to make, life-changing directions to go. And that was like huge to me this time reading the book. Like it just blared out to me. And what's interesting is Leslie at the end of the book, in another section after the book's over, she says it again in this paragraph. She says, remember, it isn't the program that will be responsible for your success. It is the inner voice which directs you to the right program after you've identified your goal. So it's not the program, it's not the book, it's not the class, it's not the thing. Our changing of our life comes from that voice, that higher power voice that speaks to us while we're being educated, while we're being trained. And the reason why I bring this up is, because I've been on stage, I've been coaching, I've been doing all kinds of things, and I've had people come up to me and blame me that the class didn't work for them. But so what that means is they put their whole expectation on me, and they missed listening to their inner voice. They missed listening to their higher power. And so they missed it. They were inspired to purchase, but then they were waiting for me to fix them, waiting for me to save them. And that's very normal and natural for people to do that. But we're here right now in this particular training right now to move our thinking up to a higher level. And so we want to take expectation of success off of the leaders. If you're expecting a leader to make you successful, that expectation is your downfall. Your success comes from your ability to hear that voice, while you're getting training, while you're learning, while you're practicing, while you're pursuing that goal, whatever it is that you're doing. But Leslie's turning people to go, hey, you need to listen for the voice. That's what's going to help you move you towards your success. And so I found these two parts that she says the same thing but in different wording, and they were like bookends to me. The first one was where Andy was teaching Richard in the book. Richard's the main character, and where Andy's teaching, he's this very successful person trying to open up Richard's eyes, and then Leslie goes to bring it up again. In after the book's over, there's some other sections you can read. And I was like, whoa, hold on. That's a bookend, front and back. It's like, wait, this is happening two places. So I went to sleep last night going, have I ever placed my expectations of my success on a coach, on a leader, on my parents, on the whoever? And I went to sleep last night going, oh, guilty. I'm guilty. Like I need to take charge of my own success. I need to listen for that voice, my inner voice and that higher power voice to guide me while I have that coach, while I'm reading this book, while I'm studying, while I'm making my decisions, as I go to that voice. Because if I skip over that voice and I expect that leader, that coach, that book, that program to save me, I'm going to be disappointed. Because I put my life changes in somebody else's hands. And it's very common to do that. Super common. But if we're going to be common people, we're going to have common results. And so if you want extraordinary experiences, we have to pay attention to what we're doing here. So last night I was pleading for forgiveness in my prayers. I was asking for forgiveness, and I took on some new levels of responsibility going, it's my job to listen to the voice that's going to guide me with this information. It's my choices of following that voice and taking action on what that voice says. I've got to be responsible and accountable for my outcome, not some leader, not some book, not some class, not some coach. Just because I pay a coach money doesn't mean now they have to fix me. They're there to teach me. But I still have to listen for that voice. Like, for example, I was on a coach call last night because I have a coach. She lives in New Zealand, and I have this coach. And she was asking me about this web page that we were, or this page that we were creating on the internet. And she was coming up with some details because she knows a lot about this particular thing. And she goes, well, what would you like to have on it? And I said, oh, well, I want this, this, and this. And she's like, oh, okay, let's follow your voice. Let's follow what you're getting inspired with. And it felt good that she had that space to allow me to follow my own intuition. And she goes, the best thing here is we got to follow your intuition. We got to follow what you're thinking because this is your thing. And I love that she supported that and that she was that mature enough not to go, you need to listen to me. She's like, oh, you're getting a different message than I think we should do. She goes, but this is your thing. We got to follow your intuition. And so then I had that experience Monday night. And then last night, Tuesday night, I'm reading this and I'm like, wow, this is like happening right in front of my face. And at the end of my coach call on Monday night, my coach says, you know what? You get to step into this more. You get to step into this more. You need to take the lead. I've taught you, but your voice, the voice is talking to you. It's talking to you what you need to do, and we need to follow that. And so we made a change in something that was created that she was like, okay, we're going to follow your voice. And I'm like, yeah, this is what we need to do. And just today, a brand new result happened. A brand new result. And I was like, what? I'm like, oh my gosh, that just happened. So I was like, okay, all right. Okay, I'm getting this. And plus I read that in the book last night, like almost like a confirmation of like, yeah, you got to quit expecting somebody else to save you, which is very natural because it's our little kid inside of us that says, Mommy, Daddy, please feed me, please clothe me, please make it fun, please do all the work for me. We just have this inner child that just wants to stay a child, but we're adults and we get to grow up and be accountable and responsible and own our outcomes. We got to own our outcomes. That's what I love about this book is that how it ends is like he's being faced with things to be more accountable. And then the last 2 pages in the story, you don't want to miss the last 2 pages. Just how he is. Okay, we got 9 minutes left. I just want to kind of open it up if there's any questions or anything that's come to your mind or something you want to say, if you've read the book or something like that. So, or Kim, if you have something you want to say too before we go today.
Yes, I do. Of course.
Yes.
I want to share something that has happened over the last little bit. I received a message from some friends, and they were sharing with me a little bit about how there's this, prayer that a lot of us don't know this particular prayer, and I don't know exactly where it came from, blah, 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 blah. But, when we pray, one of the things that we can do when we pray is to pre-think the miracle. Like, thank you for providing da 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 da. Thank you for da 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 da. Instead of, please help me with this miracle. And you're pleading with helping me. Instead of doing it that way, we can go into it as a thank you. I accept what you've done for my miracle, and I'm grateful that I've been able to see that miracle happen. What are you looking for?
I'm not leaving. I just got to go grab something. Keep going.
Oh,
Keep going.
okay. So anyway, I love that because I've actually started praying that in my prayers lately, where I instead of saying, "Oh, please help my son with his da 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 da," I'm saying, "Thank you, God, for helping my son with da 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 da," and that has just transformed how I think in my prayers and how just like Leslie was talking about. But I believe that we can actually pray it forward. And instead of, pleading and acting desperate and like we're on our hands and knees, which I believe in being on our hands and knees and having that respect and honoring God and saying our prayers like that. And I do believe there's a part of us that can talk about let's just believe the miracle actually did happen. And like there's so many different times in the scriptures where people they believe they saw it all the way through. And why can't I do that? Why can't I see it all the way through? One of my favorite stories is in the scriptures is the woman of blood, where she literally sees it. She knows it's going to happen. All she has to do is touch that tassel and touch his garment, and she knows it's going to happen. The miracle will happen. So why not me? Why would God not? If he's going to help her, why can't he help me with my things? Why can't I have that type of faith and belief and knowing that it will happen? And I think changing my language of seeing it actually done is so key to not wallowing in the, oh my gosh, is it going to happen? Do I have the faith? Do I believe in this? Oh my goodness, I'm scared of this, I'm scared of that. Or, oh, it was going to happen. And then this little thing happened to cause me to like what Leslie says, she says, da, 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 we were going in this direction and then a car accident happens or I get pulled over. She's going to believe that car being, her car being pulled over is part of the miracle. Instead of holding her back from the miracle, it's part of the miracle. And I love that. That was like my mic drop moment from this call that we had today. Okay, Kirk, back to you.
One other thing you need to not miss is the epilogue at the end. The book ends, and then there's this section, and then there's this epilogue. You got to read the epilogue. So if you're going to listen to it on the YouTube channel, the book will finish and you'll go, wait a second, there's a whole more chunk of time to listen to. Yeah, listen to all of it. And if you're like going to skip something, don't skip the epilogue. I'm not going to tell you what happens. You're going to find out when you finally go get the book or listen to it on YouTube. But don't miss the epilogue because I don't think I've ever read it. I don't think, because I was listening to it last night. I'm like, what is this? I was like, wait a second. And it was really good to listen to. Really, really good. Really good. So I'm just put that on the table. Cool.
Yes, love it.
Hey, and we ended on time.
Perfect. Thank you for being here. Love you all.
Thank
Bye.
you. You guys are awesome. We'll see you next time.
Later. Yep.
Okay, see ya. Bye bye.
Bye.